It was a crisp summer morning in Cedar Brook, the kind of morning that makes you feel alive just by breathing in the air. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a golden glow over the towering pine trees that surrounded my small hometown. For me, 28-year-old Emma, it was the perfect day to embark on an adventure into the wilderness. I've always been drawn to nature. Growing up in Cedar Brook, I spent countless hours exploring the forests, climbing mountains, and swimming in crystal-clear lakes. My love for the outdoors only grew stronger as I got older. Whenever life felt overwhelming, the woods became my sanctuary, a place where I could be free from the constraints of society and simply exist in my truest form. Today, I had a special plan in mind. I'd discovered a secluded spot deep in the woods near Cedar Brook, and I was eager to capture its beauty in a way that felt deeply personal. The location was perfect, a serene meadow surrounded by dense forest, with a breathtaking view of the mountains in the distance. It was the kind of place where I felt truly at peace. I packed my gear carefully, making sure I had everything I needed for the day's adventure. My camera, tripod, and a circular mirror I planned to use for the shoot were all securely stowed in my backpack. I also packed a lightweight robe and a towel, just in case I needed to cover up quickly. I was always mindful of my surroundings and made sure to choose locations that were far away from popular hiking trails or busy areas. The hike to the meadow was about 1.5 miles, and I set off with a spring in my step. The trail was narrow and winding, with patches of wildflowers lining the path. The air was filled with the sweet scent of pine, and the only sounds were the chirping of birds and the rustling of leaves in the gentle breeze. I felt a sense of calm wash over me as I walked, my mind focused on the experience that lay ahead. As I approached the meadow, my excitement grew. The field was even more beautiful than I had imagined, a lush expanse of green grass dotted with colorful wildflowers. The trees surrounding the meadow provided a natural barrier, creating a sense of privacy and seclusion. I knew I had found the perfect spot. I spent the next 20 minutes setting up my equipment. I positioned my camera on the tripod, carefully adjusting the angle to capture the best possible shots. I placed the circular mirror on the ground, experimenting with different positions to achieve the desired effect. The mirror would reflect the sky above, creating a unique and artistic composition that would showcase both my body and the natural beauty of the surroundings. Once everything was set up, I took a deep breath and began to undress. I folded my clothes neatly and placed them on a nearby rock, then stood in the center of the meadow, feeling the cool breeze against my skin. I closed my eyes for a moment, savoring the sensation of being completely free and connected to nature. I began to pose, moving gracefully as I experimented with different angles and compositions. I was in my element, completely absorbed in the creative process. The camera clicked away, capturing every moment as I lost myself in the beauty of the meadow and the joy of self-expression. I'd been posing for about 5 minutes when I heard a loud crunch to my left. My heart skipped a beat, and I froze in place. The sound was unmistakable. It was the sound of footsteps. My mind raced as I tried to process what was happening. I had chosen this spot specifically because it was secluded, and I hadn't seen another soul on the trail. I turned my head slowly, my eyes scanning the trees for any sign of movement. And then I saw her, a woman, about 40 years old, standing about 15 feet away. She was holding a walking stick and looked just as surprised as I felt. For a moment, we simply stared at each other in stunned silence. My mind went into overdrive. I was completely naked, standing in the middle of a meadow with a camera and a mirror set up for a photo shoot. There was no way to explain the situation without it sounding incredibly awkward. A wave of embarrassment crashed over me, and my face burned hot. I didn't think anyone would be out here, I stammered, grabbing my robe and clutching it to my chest, but too frozen in place to put it on. The woman blinked a few times, as if trying to process what she was seeing. Then, to my absolute astonishment, she let out a chuckle. Not a mocking laugh, but a genuine, amused chuckle. "Well," she said, shifting her weight to one side, "I guess I wasn't expecting to stumble upon an art project today." I hesitated, still feeling exposed despite the robe in my hands. I started, then sighed. It's a personal project." She nodded, glancing around the meadow. "Nice spot for it. You've got an eye for scenery." I finally managed to slip the robe on, tying it tightly around my waist. The initial shock of the encounter had worn off, but I was still mortified. I could feel my pulse in my ears, and a nervous laugh escaped my lips. "I guess I should have put up a sign or something." The woman smirked. "No worries. I was just passing through. Didn't mean to startle you." There was an awkward pause. I wasn't sure whether to apologize, explain myself further, or just let the moment pass. She seemed to sense my discomfort and took a step back. "I'll leave you to it," she said with an easy nod. "Enjoy the rest of your day." As she turned and disappeared into the trees, I exhaled heavily, my heart still hammering. The interaction had been brief, but it left me rattled. I had expected to feel embarrassment, and I did, but there was also something else, something more complicated. The way she had handled the situation with casual acceptance, even a hint of admiration, left me with an unexpected mix of emotions. For the rest of the shoot, I couldn't quite get back into the same flow. Every time I closed my eyes to focus, my mind wandered back to that moment, to the way she had looked at me, not with judgment, but with curiosity and understanding. And that, more than anything, made me question myself. Why did I feel this strange thrill at being seen? Why did her reaction matter so much to me? And why, despite my initial embarrassment, did part of me wish I had said something more? After the woman disappeared into the forest, I stood there for a few moments longer than necessary, trying to process what had just happened. The meadow, which had felt like my sanctuary only minutes before, now seemed charged with an energy I couldn't quite place. It wasn't fear or anger, it was something else entirely, a mix of vulnerability and exhilaration that left me unsettled yet oddly intrigued. I glanced down at my camera, still perched on its tripod, waiting patiently for me to resume the shoot. But my focus was shattered. Every time I tried to position myself in front of the lens, my thoughts drifted back to the stranger's amused expression, her calm demeanor, and the way she hadn't judged me outright. Instead, she'd acknowledged my presence with a quiet respect, almost as if she understood the importance of the moment I was attempting to capture. The mirror lay untouched where I'd left it, reflecting the sky above, but also reminding me of how exposed I'd been. For years, I'd used photography as a form of self-expression, a way to connect with nature and explore my identity outside the confines of societal expectations. Being naked in the wilderness wasn't about rebellion, it was about freedom, about shedding layers, both literal and metaphorical, to feel truly alive. Yet, until today, I'd always done so in solitude, confident that no one would stumble upon me. Now, having been seen, I realized how much I craved not just privacy but validation. Her reaction had stirred something deep within me, forcing me to confront why I sought these moments of raw authenticity in the first place.